Maybe I should keep on.
Welcome and happy Mother's Day to each and every one of you, because each and every one of us has that wonderful feminine divine energy churning around inside of us. So we're here tonight to recognize that. We're here tonight to share together. It's so wonderful to see folks returning. Martha and Jim, it's so good to have you. It's so good to have the Dunns, Amanda and Hannah and Katie. It's terrific. It's been a long, long time. We have a wonderful service this evening. It's all about those darn women. And some of us know a lot more about those darn women than others, but we're going to have a lot of folks sharing. There's a lot of women's energy woven into the service. I want to thank Martha Badger and Emily Nelson and Al Jeter, who will be presenting our reflections this evening. There are many others involved in the service. I think there are about 15 of us all together, which is great. And as always, I want to thank Catherine Wakefield, our Zoom director, because her efforts, her energy allows us to spread out that energy in a way in which we couldn't do it if we were just here. So together we welcome the Zoomers. And on that note, I would invite everyone, one quick thing. It's best of the best. One quick housekeeping piece of two really. Do not vote for STAR. Do not. That will not transfer. It's a different entity. Be sure that you vote for Sacred Traditions and Rituals. And also, I think I mentioned that we had been selected as the best place to have a birthday party too. We're one of the finalists. While we all might agree with that, best place to have a birthday party is first, and then the best place to work is second, and the best place to worship is third. So if you would just spend a little bit of time, I've had some emails from people saying, I've been voting for birthdays, and that's fine. That's fine. You can vote for that, but we really, really, really want to be the best place to worship. So that is the last category in the people and places section. So thank you for your energy. And on that note, I would invite everyone to stand as we honor the directions.
Good evening. Facing to the east. Oops. We look to the east and give honor and thanks to the Creator for all gifts given. Place of rising sun comes red color. Our time of infancy, time of emotional growth, receive love for all that is to come. Altogether, we give honor and thanks to the Creator. Or turn to the right, facing to the south.
We look to the south and give honor and thanks to the Creator for all gifts given. Place of warmth comes golden color. Our time of childhood, time of physical growth, receives strength for our visit upon Mother Earth. Altogether, we give honor and thanks to the Creator. Quarter turn to the right, facing west.
We look to the west and give honor and thanks to the Creator for all gifts given. Place of setting sun comes black color. Our time of adulthood, time to seek knowledge, bear fruit for the generations to come. Altogether, we give honor and thanks to the Creator. Quarter turn to the right, facing to the north.
We look to the north and give honor and thanks to the Creator for all gifts given. Place of the ancient ones comes color white. Our time of being an elder, time of wisdom, spirituality lives to go forth. Altogether, we give honor and thanks to the Creator.
Facing the center space, we look to the center of our being and give honor and thanks to the Creator for all gifts given. In the center of this sacredness, we honor all we have become to live with a good mind. Altogether, it is done now. We are complete with the Creator. And now we go forth to see what we must make to take us where we need to be. That place where love and peace surround, we go with the Creator with us.
I am not, by the way, Debbie Williams, but I'm going to read her part. I think she's run into a little delay, or maybe there's a problem with her car or something. A women's version of Ecclesiasticus chapter 44, 1 through 8, as interpreted by writer Melanie Lamb Robinson. Let us now sing the praises of famous women, the heroes of feminine faith history, through whom God our Mother established her renown and revealed her majesty in each succeeding age. Some held sway over patriarchy and made themselves a name by their exploits. Others were sage counselors who spoke out with prophetic power. Some led women by their counsels and by their knowledge of the power of sisterhood. Out of their fund of wisdom, they gave instruction. Some were composers of music or writers of poetry. Others were endowed with humility and strength, living peacefully in their homes. All these won fame in their own generation and were the pride of their times. Some there are who have left behind them to be commemorated in history. There are others, though, who seem unremembered. Let them not be dead as though they had never existed, as though they had never been born, or left children to succeed them. We are their children. They are our foremothers, and we honor them now. Women unknown, called to be priests, while the church called only men. Women unheralded, called to celebrate the sacraments, while the communicants refused to receive. Women unheard, called to preach, while the world called them names. Women unrecognized, called to read inclusive scriptures, while the righteous ridicule their words. These women, our foremothers, are women of loyalty, whose deeds should never be forgotten. Their prosperity of spirit will be handed down to their descendants. Thanks to them, their daughters are free, the whole race of their descendants. Their line will endure for all time, and their fame will never be blotted out. May their names live forever. Nations will recount their wisdom, and God's people will sing their praises. Here ends the reading.
This evening, we will have 3 wonderful reflections. We will be introduced to a wonderful, wonderful group of those darn women. We're going to start with Martha Badger, and then Emily Nelson, and then Al Jeter is going to wind it up.
I would like to introduce you to Hildegard von Bingen, the Sibyl of the Rhine. Hildegard was born in 1098 of minor noble parents in Buckenheim on the Nahe River in Germany. At about age 6, she began having visions. When she was 8 years old, she was entrusted to Jutta, an anchorite, which is a religious recluse at the Benedictine cloister in Diesen-Bodenberg, Germany. There she began her religious education. Because her writing skills were poor, she was assigned a monk who transcribed her visions. When she was 15, she began wearing the Benedictine habit. On the death of Jutta in 1136, Hildegard was elected as the new abbess. As her fame increased, she was known as the Sibyl of the Rhine. The cloister was too small to accommodate the pilgrims, and they moved to an area near Bingen. Hildegard wrote or dictated theological, botanical, and medicinal texts, as well as liturgical songs and poems. She wrote over 400 letters to popes, kings, emperors, cardinals, bishops, abbots, abbesses, monks, nuns, and those of all levels of society, both in Germany and abroad. This collection survives and was one of the largest to survive from the Middle Ages. Her best-known work, Sievus, May You Know the Ways, was written between 1141 and 1151. Basically, she dictated it to her scribe. And then the scribe also noted with drawings, which you can see on the front. This illuminated manuscript survives and is in the State Library of Wiesbaden. The miniatures of her visions are very detailed and help in visualizing the narrative of her visions. She also wrote a musical morality play called Order Virtutum. Hildegard remained an abbess of her community until her death on September the 17th, 1179 at age 81. After her death, her work was suppressed by the ecclesiastical authorities for over 800 years. Her visions are again available after 800 years. Her visions are again available to those open to the reawakening of mystical consciousness. These are a few of her quotes from her writings. Glance at the sun, see the moon and the stars, gaze at the beauty of the earth's greenings. Now think, what delight God gives to humankind with all these things. All nature is at the disposal of humankind. We are to work with it, for without, we cannot survive. Humankind, full of all creative possibilities, is God's work. Humankind alone is called to assist God. Humankind is called to co-create. With nature's help, humankind can set into creation all that is necessary and life-sustaining. Hildegard was canonized and named a doctor of the church by Pope Benedict XVI in 2012. Her feast day is September the 17th. Her shrine is in Ebbingen Abbey, Germany.
I would like to introduce you to Sarah Lynn Hardy Parnell, a woman who, by today's standards, was very unassuming and ordinary. She was shy and often let doubt stand in the way of what she really wanted to do, but her capacity to love was immeasurable. She was a homemaker and devoted mother with a little bit of substitute teaching mixed in here and there. When I was in second grade, she was hired on full-time as a teacher's assistant in the same school that I was attending. She was assigned a first grade classroom, but not just any first grade classroom. These were the remedial first graders, the ones I would consider the babiest of the babies, the ones not quite ready for first grade, and truthfully, some of them probably weren't even ready for kindergarten. And because she was a teacher's assistant, she wasn't completely bogged down with the tediousness of being a teacher. So she got to really focus on the students. These children are from all walks of life, every color, shape, and size. Some of them really just needed a little bit of help to get them up to speed to be ready for the next grade. But some of them had the cards stacked against them. They came from broken homes, often being raised by grandparents, and thank the Lord for grandparents. Some were being abused. Some had older siblings in jail and couldn't understand why brother and sister or sister couldn't come home. And some were lucky just to get 2 meals a day, and those likely came from the school. Lynn was able to find a way to break through all of those seemingly insurmountable obstacles and made each child feel like they were important and that someone cared about them and wanted them to succeed. They made her laugh more oftentimes than not, and some of them would make her cry, either out of frustration or sadness, but she never once stopped caring for them and their well-being. She would sometimes tell me funny stories about what one of them said or did. She had a knack for knowing just how to handle the situation, whatever it was. Lynn was kind, compassionate, and smart, and knew that most of the time, all these children ever really craved was for someone to care about them and show it. She taught me that oftentimes negative behavior has nothing to do with the present situation, that there's usually some underlying cause that was triggered by whatever that current situation was. I think she could have been a really great counselor. Lynn eventually moved on to other grades and even ran the computer lab at the school by the time she retired. But as I look back over the years and I think about the hundreds of children whose lives she touched, I know that her influence has rippled out to so many people. I truly believe those years of her being in that remedial first grade classroom were her most influential and most meaningful. And being that I was in the same school for a good bit of the time and spent a lot of time in her classroom before and after school, I was able to see these children year after year, as well as the new ones that would come in. I saw how much they loved her and respected her. I know she made a difference in their lives because they were always quick to speak to her in public and run over to give her a great big hug, even some that she hoped wouldn't recognize her. And teachers, you know what I'm talking about. She worked in that school for 25 plus years, and during that time, she even got to see some of her former students bringing in children of their own. There were times when one of her students would recognize me out in public years later and ask me if I was Miss Parnell's daughter, and when I said yes, they would beam with pride when they tell me that they were in her class. So Lynn Parnell didn't win any Nobel Peace Prize. She did not cure cancer. And she wasn't the first woman to do anything, really. But what she did with love. And her impact, I am certain, has been felt for generations. This beautiful, ordinary woman changed the world for so many children, myself included. She knew that love was the greatest teacher and healer of them all, and embodied that with everything she did. She was my mother, my hero, and my friend.
Let's see here. Testing. Yeah, that'll work. I'm about to bare my soul to all of y'all. Sue said, you know, the program's going to be out about those darn women, those darn girls. And you've shared so many stories over the years about your 3 daughters. could you do something on the program about them? And no hesitation, I thought, golly, yeah, I would be honored to. The notion of feminine energy is probably typical of all three of the girls. They are Emily, Elizabeth, and Amanda. A lot of you know them, some of you do not. It's sort of sad, but I want you to know that tomorrow, May 10th, will be the 25th anniversary of their mother's death. Terry died of a brain tumor back in 1996. And I found myself looking at three little girls. At the time, they were 14, 12, and 6. And you know, there are times when you don't quite know what's going to happen next or which way to turn. But 25 years later, I just want to tell you what a wonderful influence they have had on my life and how proud I am of them. Emily is married, living in Cincinnati. Elizabeth is married, living in Charlotte. And Amanda is married, living in Savannah. And everybody's doing great. But I do have a few stories to tell. Think of the theme as the prelude from Gigi was about thank heaven for little girls. Here's another song about little girls. Let's see. Little girls, everywhere I turn, I can see them. Little girls, night and day, I eat, sleep, and breathe them. You get the idea. Okay, it's trivia time. What's the musical? Annie. There are times when all children, girls or boys or whatever, bring that kind of emotion out in us. And I'll tell you one story, and just know that this is representative of many, many, many more. From the sort of wandering father who for 7 years, because it was 7 years after Terry's death until Ann and I were married. Here's an example. Getting dressed, I'm in my bedroom, they in theirs. Emily must have been home from college. I suspect she was about 20. Elizabeth might have been 18. Amanda might have been 6. And I hear this bedlam, complete bedlam. And everybody's arguing over something. It's mine. No, you can't have it. It's mine. I thought, oh, Lord, I'm trying to get ready. I was principal at Carver Junior High. I needed to get over to school. So I go down there and you're not ready. They were all arguing over the same bra. Now, if you don't know the girls, you're thinking, well, okay. But now remember, Emily's 18, blessed with a full figure. Elizabeth, I think Emily was probably 20. Elizabeth, 18, the svelte type, who the clothes always fit immediately, you know, that type person. Amanda was probably at best in some kind of a little training bra. And they're arguing over the same one. I figured maybe it's because it's the only clean one in the house. So not to be outdone, I snatched it up and ran back to my room and said, nobody's going to wear this today. I don't know what they wore. I shudder to think what they wore, but sometimes you just have to take charge and say, no. Now, just as there are crazy stories like that, you know, most of the memories are wonderful memories, those kind that warm your heart on the cold nights. And I'd like to share this song from Carousel. When Emily, my oldest, was born, I stood outside the nursery at Spartanburg Regional. I had played Billy Bigelow in a Spartanburg repertory show, And I couldn't help myself. It didn't matter who was walking down the hall because I was going to sing. My little girl, pink and white as peaches and cream is she. My little girl is half again as bright as girls are meant to be. Dozens of boys pursue her. Many a likely lad does what he can to woo her from her faithful dad. She has a few pink and white young fellas of 2 and 3. But my little girl gets hungry every night, and she comes home to me. You know, it's hard to get through some of these songs, but I think that's the thing, all that divine energy. As I said, all 3 girls are doing well. They have good jobs. All 3 finished Spartanburg High, and all 3 went on to finish their college degrees. And for that, I'm grateful. There are stories about getting all 3 through college that could take an evening, but I'll suffice it to say that one of them did the regular 4-year plan. Elizabeth finished at Clemson. Amanda was at Coastal Carolina, musical theater major. She's my American Idol child. You know those. Don't know where she gets that from. And Emily is go Tigers, War Eagle, an Auburn Tiger, and finished down there. So I'm very, very proud of them, and I probably owe them my sanity in my life. And I am here today to honor them and let you all know. There's one more song. This one has become sort of a tradition with us. I've used it so often that it might even sound trite after a while, but it expresses how I feel about those girls. I've used it each time their babies were born. As I held the child, I sang this song to them. For the older 2, both who had a formal wedding pre-COVID, at the big reception, they had the father-daughter dance. This song was our father-daughter dance. And I'll just tell you, it's been a wonderful ride, and I appreciate you all sharing this chapter of it with me. Where are you going, my little one, little one? Where are you going, my baby, my own? Turn around and you're 2. Turn around and you're 4. Turn around and you're a young girl going out of the door. Turn around, turn around, turn around and you're a young girl going out of the door. Where are you going, my little one, little one? Little pigtails and petticoats, where have you gone? Turn around and you're tiny. Turn around and you're grown. Turn around and you're a young wife with babes of your own. Turn around, turn around, and you're a young wife with babes of your own.
Together, we open our hearts and minds to share in the blessing of bread and wine and the divine feminine energy, which is original and ordinary in each one of us. Let us meditate, contemplate, pray. In the beginning was God. In the beginning, the source of all that is. In the beginning, God yearning, God moaning, God laboring, God giving birth, God rejoicing. And God loved what she had made, and God said, "It is good." And God, knowing that all good is shared, held the earth tenderly in her arms. God yearned for relationship. God longed to share the good earth, and humanity was born in the yearning of God. We were born to share the earth. In the earth was the seed and the vine. In the seed was the grain, and in the vine was the grape. In the grain and the grape was the harvest. In the harvest was the bread and the wine. In the bread and wine was the power.
And God said, all shall eat and drink of the earth. All shall eat of the seed and drink of the vine. All shall eat of the grain and drink of the grape. All shall eat and drink of the harvest. All shall eat of the bread and drink of the wine. All shall eat and drink of the power. God said, you are my people, my friends, my lovers, my sisters and brothers. All of you shall eat and drink of the bread and the wine and the power, and all shall eat and drink. Then God, gathering up her courage and love, said, let there be bread and let there be wine. And God's sisters, her friends and lovers, knelt down on the earth, planted the seeds in the vine, prayed for rain, sang for grain and grapes, made the harvest, cracked the wheat and pressed the juice, pounded the corn and smashed the grapes, kneaded the dough and filled the barrels, kindled the fire and vented the vessels, filled the air with the smell of fresh bread and aged wine. And there was bread and there was wine, and it was good.
We, the sisters of God, say today, all shall eat of the bread and drink of the wine, eat and drink of the power. We say today, all shall have power and bread and wine. Today we say, let there be bread, let there be wine, let there be power. Let us eat of the bread and drink of the wine, eat and drink of the power, and all will be filled. For the bread is rising and the wine is fermenting. By the power of God, women are blessed. By the women of God, the bread and wine are blessed. By the bread and the wine of God, the power is blessed. By the power of bread and wine, the power of women, the power of God, the people are blessed. The earth is blessed, and the bread is rising, and the wine is fermenting. Amen. And now we will share the bread and wine Our servers, Al and Bill, please come forward. As Al passes around the bread to you, if you would take it out of the bag. And then when the tray with the wine comes around, there is a basket on the tray that you can put your bag and your ribbon in that basket. If you do not wish to receive, you can just cross your arms across your chest.
We are grateful beyond words for the generosity that each of you have shared. You've continued to share with us. And that has enabled us to continue to meet as a star. And when I look around this room and I see all these faces, I can't wait until we can form that circle again. But in the meantime, it is because of you, your time, your talent, and the sharing of your treasure that enables us to be who we are. And we've put the star by the door. And again, we are appreciative of all of the talent that you share with us, the time that you share with us, and certainly your treasure. And on that note, if you would join me in the prayer of gratefulness. It is a responsive prayer. We dedicate ourselves and offer our hands in creative energy for the willingness to make something out of nothing. We dedicate ourselves and offer our hearts in compassionate energy for the willingness to care for those needs that touch our hearts. We dedicate ourselves and offer our eyes and our ears and lips in the energy of justice for the willingness to respond to inequality, small or large, wherever it exists. For the willingness to respond to inequality, small or large, wherever it exists. We dedicate ourselves and offer our spirit in the energy of newness. For the willingness to participate wholeheartedly in ways yet to be recognized. Amen. Our joys and our concerns are about remembering our mothers, remembering all of those whose divine energy have touched us. We have met a number of them this evening. A number of you have shared your energy with us this evening. We have with us this evening a terrific kid. She was named the Terrific Kid of the Year for Shoaley Creek Elementary School. We all know her because she's been with us since she was about 3. And I thought, what a great service to acknowledge her, because she's sort of our extraordinary woman in waiting. Katie, if you want to come on up. Katie Dunn was selected as the Terrific Kid, as I said, for Shoaley Creek. And terrific is an acronym for thoughtful, enthusiastic, respectful, responsible, inclusive, friendly, inquisitive, and capable. And when she received her honor, it was said that she is an outstanding student with a heart of gold She goes above and beyond to include everyone. And she exudes warmth and positivity. She is our star. She has been one of our stars from the beginning. And whenever you're with us, my dear, if you would wear this, it shows that you sparkle, sparkle. Joseph, we've heard all those wonderful stories about Al's girls. We've watched little Katie grow up with us and her sisters, and we are grateful to Mom Amanda for sharing all three of them with us in such special ways. I'm going to turn this over for a few quick comments to Gail and to Kathy.
A few years ago, I had the honor of receiving an award here at STAR. It was called then the Extraordinary Woman Award. I don't look at myself as extraordinary. And Gail also received the award a few years after I did. And the only time extraordinary was ever used for me was in the 4th grade. We had moved from one part of Illinois to up near Chicago. And our teacher had us read the story about, oh, my mind went blank. Oh gosh. Anyway, we read this story, and we all had to write about the story. And when I went up to read my story, it was different from everybody else's story. And I didn't want to read it. I told my teacher, I said, no, I can't read my story. And she said, why not? I said, well, because it's different from everybody's story, and I don't want to be different. And she said, well, I want you to read your story. So I went up and I read my story, and she looked at me and she said, that was an extraordinary story. And I was like, really? But it's different from everybody else's. But she looked at me and she said, it's your story. And tonight we want to honor someone who is an extraordinary person in our STAR midst. And I'm going to turn it over to Gail, and she is going to present the award.
Thank you, Kathy. I did not prepare such an eloquent story about my award when I was receiving it a few years ago. The first time we did this was 2016. Joan McPherson and I were in charge of that service because that was the only service in 10 years, Sue's 10 years here, that she could not be with us. But she was attending the graduation of her goddaughter, who is a very extraordinary young woman. So it kind of fit. She was with us in spirit when we presented this award to Kathy. 2 years later, I was honored to receive it. And we planned to do it in 2020, but this little thing called COVID happened and we couldn't do it. But we had already decided who we wanted this award to go to this year, this time. So I'd like to read to you a little bit about this award and what the award actually says. Honoring the extraordinary in ordinariness. There is a wonderful joy that we all share, joy in knowing women who in ordinary ways share their extraordinariness with so many of us. They are the ones who make themselves available when there is a need. Whenever the doors are open to help out, they are there. They are the ones who stay up late or work to the very end to finish the project, often alone, making certain it is ready for the deadline. They are the ones who have broad shoulders and embracing arms, offering comfort that is easy to melt into. They are the ones who have a huge smile and a kind word, leaving us with the feeling that the day is a little better because we are part of it. They are the ones who make the world a much brighter and more joyful place to live because of all that they so willingly share of themselves. They are the ones whose lamps are always filled and are ready to light the way at a moment's notice. As we look around this circle, we are aware of these women. Deborah Lester. We thank you. We thank you and extend to you an enormous gratitude from our hearts to your heart for the many ways you share your extraordinariness in ordinary ways. Proclaimed and presented to Deborah Lester, May 9th, 2021.
Deborah, we're giving you this. This is Kathy or Gail's. Yours is at the framer. We will have it for you just as soon as he finishes with us. But we wanted to assure you that it really, really does exist. So let's get the three of these gals together. And then we're going to ask Deborah if she'd like to say something so we can get a photograph of them. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to say?
No.
Nothing. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. On that note, we're going to do one more thing, and that is we're actually going to sing this evening, and we're going to have Al play for us, and then we have another phenomenal treat. And that treat is some wonderful cake squares and iced tea. Sandra Garrett, we can't thank you enough for creating this Mother's Day evening tea, small and short and simple though it is. But I am going to invite everyone to stand up one more time and let's sing. Two Sundays from now, I hope you will join us. We are privileged, we are honored, and we are thrilled to welcome back Steve Willis, who will share with us his wonderful, wonderful reflection on Ikebana. In the meantime, go in peace until we meet again.